You were diagnosed 1989, right? Did you think you'd make it to here, now, back then?
There were a lot of people who did not see, the end of the crisis.
When I was first diagnosed, I did not think I would live 5 years.
When you love who you are and stay true to yourself, you inspire others to do the same. Ask your healthcare provider if Biktarvy is right for you, or visit Biktarvy.com to view the important facts, including important warnings.
Hello there, welcome to Plus Talk, where we get right into it, no holds barred. We are about keeping it real, living life to the fullest, without shame, without stigma. We are turning positive into a plus. So let's get straight into it. Today is all about HIV and the golden years, and I mean that in the most respectful way, gentlemen. Joining me, my guests, Scott Bloom and Ferdinand Garcia. Thanks for joining us at Plus Talk. Guys, the face of HIV is changing. By 2020, more than 70% of Americans with HIV are expected to be over the age of 50. Now, that's both, I think, amazing, but it also is, we are now discovering, presenting a whole series of new kind of challenges for people. Scott, you were diagnosed 1989, right?
Right.
Did you think you'd make it to here, now, back then?
I lived in, a beautiful denial. It was one of those things that I just never thought that I would die from it. And I don't know if that's what kept me alive for as long as it has, along with everything else. But when I was diagnosed, I was also newly sober, and so I was, practicing my principles in all my affairs. And it just never really crossed my mind that as long as I did the things that were told to me, that I would see the end of this. It just, there were a lot of people who went before me. I think '89 was really toward the tail end of, the really dark part, when the medication were, that were becoming effective, and people were living longer, and there was hope in the atmosphere. Right. So that may have had something to do with it as well.
But as a young man in 1989, you lived through the horrors of losing a lot of people.
Very much so, yeah. I worked in the bar scene in West Hollywood, and so there were a lot of people that I've been reflecting on recently who did not see, the end of the crisis. And I feel very lucky. I feel very fortunate because I was kind of in the right place at the right time. Had I seroconverted any sooner than that, the story might be very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ferdinand, you're 51, recently 51. Yes. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
But diagnosed much later than Scott, 2002?
I was diagnosed in 2002, yeah. So, interestingly, when I was first diagnosed, I did not think I would live 5 years. It was a surprise. I thought I knew everything about HIV. I did everything I was supposed to do, and I got the positive diagnosis. So it really shook me, and it took me a while to get to the point that I thought I was going to be around. I always said, okay, let me get to the 5-year anniversary, let me get to the 10-year anniversary, and it wasn't until my 15-year anniversary that I really started thinking I am going to be around for a while. So yeah, but when I was first diagnosed, I didn't think I would live 5 years.
We hear a lot of stories about people, especially going back to the 80s, when, the glimmer of hope maybe wasn't as bright as it was in 2002, and certainly how it is now, where their doctors and sort of said, well, you've got maybe 5 good years. Go and live that life. Go and blow it up.
Oh, I knew plenty of people who maxed out their credit cards and cashed in their life insurance policies, and then, I've been, clean and sober now for 30 years, and so all of a sudden you start seeing people showing up in the rooms going like, what do I do now? I'm going to live. I don't have any money. I don't have a place to live. And so there was a whole new set of problems that suddenly appeared because people were surviving the crisis.
Right, and that's when I said at the top there that, we are now on the precipice of, as I said, 2020, 70% of Americans. A lot of those Americans did not think they'd make it this far. So those savings aren't there. That forward planning isn't there.
Right.
What do we do about that? Because this could become quite a problem in this country.
Well, I think a lot of my contemporaries they're either dying of old age or of other complications that come along with old age, and so what I'm seeing, especially like out in Palm Springs, that there are homes and facilities that are specifically targeted. What's the one over here in Hollywood? To aging gay seniors, to be able to assist them in later in life, you know, when perhaps maybe we didn't plan to be around this long.
And organizations like, I think they're called the Golden Compass up in San Francisco, that are taking care of all of this. Ferdinand, you said you didn't think you'd make the first 5 years. Isn't it funny how you're diagnosed in 2002 when antiretrovirals are available? You can essentially take those pills and you're fine. And for you it was, I don't think it's going to happen. You're diagnosed in 1989 where there's slithers of hope and you were like, I'm going to live.
Like I said, I think I was living in complete denial because people around me were still dying.
Yeah.
You know, and even as late as, you know, your diagnosis, there's still an awful lot of stigma and misinformation about what it means to be HIV positive and what it means for your longevity. And I think it's essential that real information is out there so that when a diagnosis comes to someone, they don't freak out like that. And they don't you know, think, you know, it's all over with, because there are solutions.
Right, but let's talk about that stigma, because it's something that we're all about fighting, Plus Talk and Plus Life. Ferdinand, for you, I mean, we hear about stigma. We already know, and I'm sorry to sort of say older people, but this is particularly an episode about being over the age of 50 and aging with HIV. We already know that older people face isolation due to illness, loss of family and friends. It's just a part of life as you get older. But you add HIV stigma in the mix as a man of your age. How has that played into things for you?
You know, I'm very lucky living in San Francisco. I think San Francisco is one of the most liberal HIV accepting cities. But I've made it a mission to try to eliminate stigma regarding HIV around the world, and I know other places, not only in the United States, obviously, but also around the world, you know, the stigma is a lot more challenging. But, you know, having this platform, I think will make a huge difference in making sure that people don't feel isolated with this disease.
Now, you travel all around the world. That was sort of something when with your diagnosis, you made like a point of, right?
Yeah, so.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, as I said earlier, you know, when I was first diagnosed, I didn't think I would live 5 years. So I made a commitment to myself to try and travel twice a year to see as much of the world as possible. And then for my 5th year anniversary, I decided to do a marathon. So I flew to Florence, Italy, did a marathon in Florence. Anniversary number 8, I did a triathlon. And then for anniversary number 10, I hiked Machu Picchu. And at that time, I actually started a social media campaign called I'm HIV. And I created this sign.
Yeah, now hold that up. So, okay.
So
that's a well-battered, laminated sign.
Yes, it's been everywhere. So the very first picture that I took was when I did Machu Picchu. And then for anniversary number 12, I hiked up to Kilimanjaro. And I've gone scuba diving, snorkeling with the sign. Anniversary number 15, I did Base Camp Everest. So this sign has made it up to Everest.
Going back to your story for a second, Scott, 1989 and sort of that era. I hear a lot about, you know, people of your age and older who are HIV positive who talk about survivor's guilt, PTSD. Have you ever had any of that? And how do you think, sort of more broadly, that affects people living with HIV over the age of 50? And what are some of the things as a community we can maybe do to combat that? And feel free to dive in as well, Ferdinand.
I honestly don't think, and I can't speak for anyone but myself, but I don't find myself thinking about survivor's guilt. I mean, because my contemporaries nowadays are all dying of natural causes or things related to age. I did what was laid in front of me. I mean, much to what you were just speaking about, my 2nd year of sobriety, I had a sponsor who had been diagnosed with a particularly nasty version of cancer, and he was given weeks, months to live. And what he did was he made plans. He always assumed that tomorrow would get here, that there would always be a tomorrow. And he did that for 2 years. And so the lesson that I took away from that is how you see and feel about yourself can also help with your health. So that if I always know that tomorrow will be here, there will be a tomorrow, I can make plans, I can buy a car on time, I can go to school, I can start a new career. Tomorrow will always get here. That has a profound effect on people's health. And that was the way I always viewed my HIV diagnosis, that it's not going to get me, I'm going to plan for tomorrow. And so I myself never really suffered from guilt. I get very sad and melancholy that people that I love very much are no longer with us, but I don't turn that back on myself. It's unproductive. It doesn't do anything.
Right, absolutely. And you're both great examples of living your lives to the fullest, which is what we're all about. Just in the closing few moments that we have, what message do you give to people, not just younger people who might be freshly diagnosed, but also people over 50 who might receive an HIV diagnosis, who have grown up in an era of stigma and the fear campaigns and have thought, I'm 55 now, I'm 60, HIV is not going to happen to me. What advice would you give to them, both of you? Final thoughts.
Wow. I would say that there are plenty of people out in the world who are living the example of what an HIV diagnosis means in 2019. It hasn't been a death sentence for years.
This is a journey that they're going to have to go through, and there are going to be ups and downs, and hopefully more ups than downs. You know, for me, the day that I was diagnosed, I reached out to my 5 closest friends, and I told them that day, and I said, listen, if I'm going to survive this, I'm going to need you guys, you know, to be there for me. So, you know, reach out, you know, let people know that you might need them, and it's okay, you know, to ask for help. But know that this is a journey that, you know, will lead you to a very happy, fulfilled life if you choose to do so. Yeah. So.
And the other thing I would say also too is I'm married. I've been married coming up on 6 years now to a serodiscordant partner.
Now, for everyone out there, that means someone who's not HIV positive.
He's negative, yeah. Right. And so, I mean, you can have everything in life if you want. It's entirely possible to be happy and healthy and still have an HIV diagnosis.
Scott Bloom, Ferdinand Garcia, thank you so much for joining us at Plus Talk. That's going to do it for this episode. If you want any more information on anything we've talked about today, check out pluslifemedia.com. There are all kinds of resources there. We'll even put something up about the Golden Compass in San Francisco. But there are plenty of resources out there if you are over the age of 50 living with HIV. Look, 2 handsome gentlemen like this living their lives to the fullest. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stick around. There'll be extra content going up on the website soon because I'm going to throw these away and we're just going to chat for a bit. But until next time, see you later.